kind of reminds me of that one song, This Is How It's Gonna Be, or This Is How It Ends, by, I'd have to think about it off the top of my head, but holy cow. If this is how it goes out for Kevin Durant and the Suns, if this is how it ends, damn, that sucks. See you guys in a couple seconds.
The Ben Garcia Show. Yeah. Woo. Best show in the land. Yup. Listen. Come and get your information from Ben Garcia. Get the latest on your quarterback, running backs, and receivers. Tune in, so any other show you don't need them. Any news that he giving out, please just believe him. Giving out the latest prediction and top-notch analysis. Wanna hear the truth, better have thick skin like calluses. The latest move that your team just made can be damaging. The dudes ain't speaking no facts, they just be rambling. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. Yeah. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. The Ben Garcia Show.
What is up, guys? Welcome into yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. Thank you so much for making me a part of your day, guys. I know there's a lot of options out there. You can get ready with someone else each and every morning, but you guys decide to continue to come here. It is a jam-packed show. You know, when I'm getting ready for the show, Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, especially this part of the year, you're really digging into, man, what's going to stick? And originally, for some of you guys that watch the show and are devout listeners and watchers of the show, I was going to talk about the Devin Booker dilemma and some of the issues that Devin Booker has had over the past couple of weeks, things that you're just like, you can't let slide. And oftentimes, people will continue to point out there just how bad Devin Booker's been and how you're not holding him accountable, which I think is nonsense. I think I'm pretty good at holding everyone accountable. But then other things just fall into your lap. For those of you that don't know, I obviously cover the Phoenix Suns for Locked On Suns podcast. Obviously, it's there every single morning. And I'm at every single home game that on a weeknight, like the days that we have a show and there's a game, I'm at that game because we're doing our show from the game. And stories just fall right into your lap. So before we dive into it, guys, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend about the Ben Garcia Show. Follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. The way last night's game ended, I explained it last night on Locked On Phoenix Suns basically like this. I had basically said, this could only happen to the Phoenix Suns. Kevin Durant, almost a little, scary how ironic it was last night. He starts his career as a Phoenix Sun, rolling his ankle on the same side of the court, almost in the same exact spot where Kevin Durant rolled his ankle the first time. And there's a chance he ends his career as a Phoenix Sun rolling an ankle. And you wonder where it all went wrong for this team. Was it trading the Twins? I kind of disagree there. Suns were already moving down the contender ladder. I think ultimately what I got to last night after losing Kevin Durant to an ankle injury where it could be his last time as a Phoenix Sun, I think of it like this. And this is a lesson that I was taught a long time ago with this Suns team. And it was this. Each year that goes by, every game that goes by, the 2021 NBA Finals loss looks way worse. One of the issues with that Finals loss is I shook it off better than most because I just assumed the Suns would be back. They were young. They were spry. They were just hitting their stride. And then 2022 happened. And they didn't catch as much of a break in terms of injuries. I'm not saying the Suns didn't get into the playoffs because of the injuries. But what I am saying is, listen, let's not act naive here. The Suns got fairly lucky in terms of who they got to play. And what I learned from that playoff series, and it took me about a year to learn that in 2022, was, man, when you get to the championship, when you get to the final round, when you get to the finals, the World Series, the Super Bowl, it doesn't matter what it feels like. If you're ahead of schedule, if you're behind schedule, it is so hard to get back that you need to make it count when you're there. It's one of the reasons with the Diamondbacks when I maybe took it a little bit harder than everyone else when they went to the World Series. Because what I learned from that experience was, all right, no more, it's just fun to be here after beating the Phillies in the NLCS. It is really hard to get back here. Look at the Phillies right now. They thought they were a shoo-in to go back to the World Series the year that they played the Diamondbacks in the NLCS. But what happens? You count your chickens before they're hatched. They lose in Game 7. And the following year, don't make it back to the World Series either. I think what we've learned is, man, you have to take care of business when you're in the NBA Finals. You just do. And people are asking the question of, is that the last time we've seen Kevin Durant? I got to be honest with you. I'm not sure how true that is. Just because there's obviously the 65-game rule. He is more than qualified to be on the All-NBA team. It's not going to help him in terms of money. He's already got that completely tucked away. It's not going to help him in terms of potential, obviously, greatness. We know he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. But I do think getting on the All-NBA team matters for Kevin Durant. And I do think he'll want to get that. He's at 62 games as of last night. He needs 3 more games to reach that 65-game threshold, which, by the way, still an amazing rule. I have no issues against it. But Kevin Durant rolling an ankle last night, it's poetic justice, man. Not for Kevin Durant. No one's rooting for an injury. Hope the guy is... Honestly, I hope that he just sits out because it's not worth it to watch him, struggle with an ankle injury that can be kind of testy. If he wants to come back, awesome. But no one's rooting for an injury. Kevin Durant doesn't deserve an injury. No one in the NBA deserves an injury. But this is kind of what the Suns signed up for. Kevin Durant, that I don't think this is fair, is largely seen as a somewhat injury-prone person. Bradley Beal, injury-prone player. And the Suns went all in on this team, knowing the injury history, knowing the depth that they didn't have. He started his career as a Phoenix Sun, rolling his ankle on the same exact spot, in the same side of the floor, and he ends it rolling his ankle. And it sucks, man. It does make you feel bad for Kevin, at least, a little bit. I know it's just an ankle injury. He's going to be perfectly fine. But he thinks he's making the right decision when he came to Phoenix. We had a pep rally for the guy. Clearly wasn't the right decision. And he's going to get a lot of blame for it. When more so it should be Devin Booker, along with others, for the Suns' mishaps and failures. If this was the end of the Kevin Durant era, what I will say is it's mercifully over. I can't stand when people just lie on social media for likes and retweets. And when people were saying last night when Kevin Durant went down, oh man, 36 was so much fun. First off, I think you're an idiot and weird if you're calling players by their numbers. I think it's so corny. Maybe not an idiot. Maybe not. Maybe that's a little far. But I think it's really corny to call someone by their name. But whatever. I see Kevin Durant loves you, Phoenix, or it was so fun to have you here. No, it wasn't. It's not Kevin Durant's fault, but the Suns era with the big three, air quotes, was largely tough to watch. And this team and this experiment will not only go down as one of the biggest failures of Phoenix Suns history, probably the biggest failure in Phoenix Suns history, right up there with Game 7 against the Mavericks or other mishaps in this franchise's history, but right up there with one of those horrific failures. It'll be this experiment. Because regardless of what fans say or 2020 hindsight viewers, we all thought Bradley Beal, 95% of us, was going to work here, and it was going to be splendid to watch. But this experiment with Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker is not only one of the biggest failures in NBA history, it's probably the biggest failure in Suns history, without a shadow of a doubt. This team, with this combination of players, has a total of 6 playoff wins. And their final 2 seasons together, they're going to have no playoff wins. That is with Bradley Beal, who before the injuries was going to get some Hall of Fame votes, but that's because everyone gets in the Hall of Fame in the NBA. Kevin Durant, a first ballot Hall of Famer, top 10 basketball player of all time. And Devin Booker, who in my opinion was seen as the best number 2 in the NBA. But still, roster construction was bad. They valued name brand talent over the little things. And for that being said, it's going to cost them. It could cost the Suns their golden boy, Devin Booker. I'm not rooting for that. I hope it doesn't happen. But this is such a catastrophic failure. It's going to have catastrophic consequences. And watching Kevin Durant grab his ankle last night while the entire stadium in unison groaned, that was tough, man. That was tough. I could sit here and blame other players and blame people, but that's not really what this is about. It's about recognizing your failures and moving on. And this is probably how it ends. Not just as a catastrophic failure this season, but a catastrophic experiment for this entire team. So, tough. And I feel for every single Suns fan last night that watched the entirety of that game, just hoping there was going to be a switch flipped, and it never came. And it's kind of, reminiscent of what it's been the entire time. We all were just waiting for a switch to get flipped, and that switch never got flipped. A switch that did get flipped yesterday, and pretty awesomely so. Listen, sorry about that. If I blew out your eardrums this morning, it's because I just didn't like it that much. But, man, it was so fun to watch the Diamondbacks play. I know baseball isn't, again, the most popular, but I love baseball. Absolutely love it. And yeah, the Diamondbacks started off 2-2. You would like to see them go 3-1, especially at home, to start the 2025 season. But it was nice to have a little controversy come out of that. And it was already blaming Torey Lovullo for all the Diamondbacks issues. I got to say this. It was so fun to have baseball back. And for the people in my chat that were watching the Suns this weekend but didn't watch the Diamondbacks, even in their losses, you can tell this team's going to be special. You can tell. I'm trying to warn you now. You don't want to be seen as a bandwagon fan. You don't want to be seen as a fair weather, someone that jumps on when it's time. You better jump on this team. Because the Zach Gallen thing in the opening day, that was tough. They lost. Whatever. Baseball is so interesting because there's nothing that gets me more pissed off than when the Diamondbacks lose. But when the Cardinals and the Suns lose, I'm like, there's another game next week. Maybe not so much with football, but definitely with basketball. And it's like, there's 162 games in baseball. Guys are just getting ready for the season that's ahead. Let's talk about this. First off, if the Diamondbacks are going to get contributions from Alek Thomas like they did all weekend long, if Eugenio Suarez is going to play 75% of what he's been playing like over the first series, if Corbin Carroll continues to, figure it out and become that next superstardom in baseball, and you look at this lineup, man, the sky's the limit for this team. I was talking to a couple of buddies that, watch a ton of baseball as well. And one of them was like, start Jordan Lawler, move Ketel Marte to the DH and put Jordan Lawler at second base. And it was probably largely tongue-in-cheek, but it's like, you can't do that. Ketel Marte is an A-plus defender. And the one thing this team has had issues with over the first 4 games is defense a little bit. So it was a ton of fun to watch this team. Their ability to hit the long ball, get on base, and their starting pitching outside of Zach Gallen has really delivered. And today we get a showdown in the Bronx where Corbin Burnes is going to go up against a red-hot Yankees lineup. And, there's a lot of this conversation about the torpedo bats. For those of you that don't know, basically what has happened in baseball is the Yankees have came up with a new way to cheat. No, I'm just kidding. The Yankees have came up with a new way of playing baseball. And obviously the Diamondbacks don't play until tomorrow, so I got a little ahead of myself there. But there's been a lot of complaining about this new torpedo bat, where basically the Yankees hired some MIT nerd to construct a new baseball bat. So instead of fixing players' swings or modifying how they swing the bat, they instead modified the bat for the player, taking pieces of wood from one spot of the bat and putting it in to the quote-unquote sweet spot of the bat. And people love it, like me, or they hate it. There's really no in-between. First off, it's completely legal. Everyone else can do the same thing, and you're going to be okay with it when your team starts doing it. But what I will say is, why would you want to ban it? It's good for baseball. It's not steroids. No one's dying off of this or ruining their body because of this. It is a bat that is constructed for the batter to be able to hit the ball further. And that's great for baseball. Home runs are awesome. Chicks dig the long ball. But for the, people that just want the hand wringing or being upset, first off, your team's going to do it, and then you'll end up shutting up about it. But what do you want to do? You want to get rid of football gloves too? What about cleats? What do you want to get rid of? In basketball, what do you want to do? You want to get rid of the arm sleeve? You want to get rid of basketball shoes? Like, you don't get to just ban something because you don't like it. Perfectly legal. Everyone can do it. And baseball has always been about outsmarting your opponent, being one step ahead of everyone. Moneyball A's all the way up to torpedo bats Yankees. And guess what? Just like how everyone copied the Moneyball A's for a little bit there, the Diamondbacks are still doing it. Everyone is going to be having the torpedo bats soon. And I love it. I think it's great for baseball. I think it's awesome. I think the way it looks is funky and fun and another thing to talk about. I mean, what's the difference between football gloves, the ones that these NFL players are wearing, which are just absolutely, it feels like they should be illegal. The ability to catch footballs, better than without gloves on. Like, what's the difference? The bat is allowing them to hit the ball further if they hit it in the sweet spot. And I'm assuming the trade-off would be if you don't hit that sweet spot, which would be more likely to happen than not, you're likely weakly hitting a ground ball. There's a trade-off here. You don't just get to hit a home run every single time. I think it's just complaining from the baseball purists that don't like that the Yankees were the ones that figured it out first. And credit to them. And I can't wait to see the Diamondbacks have their torpedo bats soon because it's going to happen. But all the pearl clutching over torpedo bats, they're not hiding they're not hiding anything. It's not like the Astros hitting a trash can in the dugout. I mean, it's crazy. And I see my guy Aaron in the chat. The bat adds extra force, which is a non-human element. So, football gloves also add a non-human element called stickiness. Humans don't have sticky hands. You're allowed to use them. So, I'm just saying, all gloves still don't work if Warriors don't have the grip strength. Well, first off, that's not necessarily true. And secondly, the bats don't usually work unless you hit the ball with it. You still have to make contact with it. You don't just get a home run by standing up there holding a torpedo bat. And then finally, what I really want to dig into before I'm going to get grilled, I'm sure, for the torpedo bats thing. There is this argument already of Diamondback fans blaming Torey Lovullo for the Diamondbacks either winning or the Diamondbacks either losing. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the Diamondbacks won. Joe Mantiply in the 8th inning, when it's a one-run game, you're throwing out, it feels like you're just throwing away the game. When Justin Martinez is in the pen, when A.J. Puck is in there, you could have established more of a presence on the mound. It felt like, in a way, Torey Lovullo was just giving up on the game. And then there's the issue of who was starting, who wasn't starting to start the game. I don't like either that Gabriel Moreno has already had 2 off days, with an off day coming up, that being today. I don't like that Alek Thomas isn't getting consistent at bats in center field, although Torey makes a good point. He did pull his hamstring last year. Maybe you don't want to just throw guys out there. But here's the thing that I think is really naive. Diamondbacks fans who are blaming Torey Lovullo for everything. And here's my point by that. I say it like this. Torey Lovullo has never been an X's and O's manager. I think the biggest gripe we've had with Torey is his ability to manage the bullpen and sometimes in-game decisions and the lineup. But I think what has been true for a long time now is the proverbial manager of this team is Mike Hazen and the front office. I think Torey Lovullo has little to none say about the lineup and how the team is constructed on the field. Outside of bullpen and some obvious substitution changes that sometimes he does get wrong too, but let's not act like he wasn't pushing all the right buttons for the World Series run. Ryan Thompson, Kevin Ginkel, Paul Sewald, he managed that bullpen pretty freaking well. He ran out a bullpen game in Game 4 of the NLCS, and they won. But I think largely the gripes that Diamondback fans and myself either had or still have for Torey Lovullo is thinking that he's the one calling the shots. I think it is incredibly naive to think that Torey Lovullo is the one calling all the shots. I think this is clearly a Mike Hazen run team. I think Torey Lovullo, for better or for worse, is not the head honcho of this team. This team is, for more or less, being ran by a computer. Torey Lovullo's job is building relationships, is being that connector, and players love that, and I think that's largely why he has had a job with the Diamondbacks for so long. The players love him, he defends his guys, and they love playing for him. And there's a lot of that goes very far. But sometimes you take the good with the bad. And I think it is very easy to blame the skipper for the team's mishaps when I think Torey is just the fall guy. And if you have issues with the team, it's Mike Hazen and the computer of the front office. And I got to be honest with you, for the most part, they push all the right buttons in the front office. So just blaming Torey to blame Torey, I think, is a little lazy when it comes to who has an off day and who's starting here and losing the DH spot in the middle of the game. I think all of that is a plan that comes from the front office and not necessarily from Torey Lovullo. I don't think that's his lane. His lane, to me, is and always has been building relationships and fostering those with his players. And in his defense, he's pretty damn good at it. So, Arizona Diamondbacks 2-2. They take on the Yankees tomorrow, and I couldn't be more excited. I understand my guys in the chat not thrilled with my torpedo bats rant, but you're going to like it, Aaron, when the Brewers start running it out there. And I'm going to love it too. Aaron, I don't have any mock drafts planned in the future, but if you guys really want it, I'll do it. I used to do mock drafts all the time, but I'll do them. I didn't. Now that tomorrow is the first day of April, we're going to dive really deep into some NFL draft talk. Appreciate you guys. I got to get over to work. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend about the Ben Garcia Show. And until tomorrow, I'm so stoked. I'll see you guys then. Have a good day. Have a good day.